welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the first video that isn't part of my 20-part series, which means I have no idea how to introduce it. But basically, I am going to run through comp day. I have posted a recap up on my Instagram, and I just want to sit down and do kind of a long talk video throughout, like explaining the entire day essentially. It has been ages since I filmed a YouTube video, and I'm well aware that this is being uploaded 3 months too late essentially. I competed mid-November. Yeah, I competed mid-November. Okay, maybe not 3 months, but a few months. We are now the beginning of January. But I am gonna get straight into it. I have a handful of footage that Ethan very kindly filmed throughout the day, which is either gonna show kind of up in the corner or split this video up a little bit. I also have the professional footage of some of my lifts, which I will definitely be inserting as well. But overall, comp day went really well. I had the best day ever. I rented out an Airbnb in Brighton so that we were close to the venue, and we stayed there the night before, just had a really chilled evening, got everything ready, blah blah blah. And then on that Friday night we went to the venue to help set up. Leyland, another member that was competing, very kindly picked us up and dropped us off, and we all went together to help the night before. Just to give you a bit of an explanation, my powerlifting coach is Callum, which hopefully you know. He runs Dedicated by Design, which is DBD, which is an online coaching platform. It's more than that, but essentially it is a huge community of people. There are over 200 of us that are coached by the DBD coaches, who there's a handful of. I don't know exactly how many. I want to say there are 5 of them. And Callum basically created this event, so it's the DBD Open, which is essentially an open powerlifting competition hosted by Dedicated by Design DBD. In the simplest terms to explain, I'm doing a lot of hand gestures. So it was the DBD Winter Open run by Callum. He does a hell of a lot for these events, and half of the athletes competing were his athletes, so he was coaching and handling most of the athletes there. So on the morning of, Leyland again very kindly came to collect me and Ethan. We headed over for a check-in. The morning consisted very much of eating breakfast, getting ready, trying not to get nervous, and this is my second competition now, and I've found both times that until squats are done, the nerves don't go. As soon as I finish squatting, I feel a lot more relaxed and calm at the event, but I just tried to not get too nervous too quickly, basically. So we arrived at the event. We weighed in, I weighed in at 64.5 kilos, which is exactly 4 kilos heavier than last competition, which I was really happy with. The way that this competition works, because there was a total of 30 athletes, we weren't split into weight classes. We were kind of judged based on the DOTS formula, which basically takes into account your weight and the amount that you lift, and kind of gives you a number / ranking, and then they base results off of that. We kind of had 2 ideas in mind for each lift in terms of what I was aiming for. So for my squat, we knew that I was opening at 90. We had a discussion whether it should be 87.5 or 90, but I was very confident that 90 would be fine, and I really wanted to hit that 100 mark. I felt that on a really good day, I probably had more than 100 in me. So the question we had was whether we go 90, 97.5, 102.5, or whether we just get the 100 and do 90, 95, 100. Just to give you a tiny bit of context, I was on, I think, day 2 or 3 of my menstrual cycle, so I was on my period, and annoyingly, I had actually stressed so much about being on my period for comp that I had pushed my period back so that it literally fell on comp. I managed to delay my period due to stress, but the reason I was stressed was because I didn't want to be on my period. So just trust Mother Nature and stop stressing, but whatever, it was fine. So on the day, started warming up, squats felt good. I didn't feel 100% confident because I think like you're just getting used to a new bar, getting used to how the warm-up room works, and it feels almost rushed in a way that you haven't quite settled yet. And this is what I mean by like, my nerves don't go until after squats. You just don't feel settled. Anyway, 90 moved really well. I was really happy with that.
Nice and steady walk out.
Easy, get in!
Then when I came away, I was like, I just want to get 100. I really don't want to have a failed lift. So we decided to go 95, 100. 95 moved really well, and 100 moved. It got 2 white lights.
Now. Give this everything now. Do not stop fighting, Aaliyah, now. Come on.
Squat!
Yeah. That is what we like to see. And the referees say 2 to 1, a good lift.
I, afterwards, watching it back, am really not happy with that lift. But it technically counts. I lifted 100. It is what it is. Next time will just be better. Callum was quite funny because he was like, I said, what did I get the red light for? And it was downward movement, and he was like, from where I was standing, I thought it was a downward movement as well, so at least you got it, like that's all that matters. But I'm not super happy with how that moved. It's fine, I got the lift. 100 kilos has been squatted and will be done better next time. Once squats were done, then I felt a lot more settled and really, I don't know, like you can breathe. I cannot remember for the life of me how I ate throughout the day. I had a very normal start to the day because I knew that I wasn't going for a weight class. I still had a full breakfast and like didn't worry about how I ate around weighing in. I tried to treat the day as close to a normal day for me as possible. So I had my normal breakfast, I had a couple of snacks before squatting. I think I then had my lunch before benching because I didn't want to feel sick for deadlifts. So I had a chicken pasta. And my bench warm up, I felt really stressed. We rely wholly on volunteers for events like this. They help load the warm-up room, they spot, they sort all the weights on the bars on the platform. They do an incredible job and a lot behind the scenes. For some reason, when we were warming up for bench, loads of the volunteers were doing other things, and nobody was there to load up the bench basically, and we had to go and find some volunteers, and that then obviously took a little bit of time. So getting comfortable on that bench felt quite rushed. It was absolutely fine in the end, but I remember queuing up to the stage like for my opener, and Callum was like, how do you feel? And I was like, I feel like that was really rushed. And he was like, did you do all your warm-ups? And I was like, yes. And he's like, you're fine. Like, yeah, okay, fair enough. So I was opening with 50 kilos.
Go on now. Nice and easy work for your opener, Leah.
Easy, let's go!
Green, white light.
Now, my training for bench, like bench in particular, during my training in the lead up to comp, made me cry a couple of times. Last year when I competed, I benched 47.5, 50, 52.5. 50 was already a PB and 52.5 was a struggle, but I was super happy. As we were leading up to this comp, I was like, am I even gonna really PB? Both my other lifts are gonna have a really nice, like decent jump, and bench, at this point I'll be lucky if I can bench 50. Like, I was having a huge mental block with it. So I think it was 3 weeks leading up to comp, every single top set of bench that I did, Callum had been sent. He'd been sent the last warm-up, we decided what the top set was going to be, I sent him the top set, he gave me an analysis on it, we worked on it. I was very, very, very comfortably lifting 50 kilos in that lead up to comp, and 52.5 was getting pretty comfortable. And by that, I mean, it was about an RPE 7. And the biggest thing was doing it enough times in those 3 weeks that I mentally felt prepared and confident. Luckily, we did get to that point. So I opened with 50 kilos. It moved insane. It was so good. 52.5 did the exact same thing. Again, we had a conversation. Do we go 55, 57? And I was like, again, I really don't want to fail a lift. I'd rather just do what I know I can and get a PB. 55 is still a PB. It's not a huge one, but it all counts. So we did 52.5.
Bar loaded for Leah. Let's see it now, Leah. Come on.
Let's see it. Come on.
Easy!
It moved so well, and then we finished with 55, which moved well, 3 white lights. It was a little bit slower than I was hoping for, but that's me literally just nitpicking. Like, it moved so nicely and I was really happy. It was a PB, so that's all that matters.
All loaded for Leah. Let's see it.
After that, the kind of stress completely evaporated and I was ready to have fun with deadlifts. I do think now that I've done this comp, I can confidently say deadlifts are my favourite lift. I think it helped knowing that no matter what, I was going to PB. Last year, my deadlift attempts were 97.5, 105, 110. and 110 was my only failed lift. So technically my comp PB was 105. To put it in perspective, my current, at that point, training PB was 127.5 and my opener was 117.5. So my opener was already a comp PB. I did want a PB in terms of the heaviest I've ever lifted. So my third attempt that we were going for was 130. Now I knew I had more in me than that, and I think when we were talking about attempts, I don't think I've really had to grind a deadlift in a while, and I don't think I had that much confidence that I knew I could grind a deadlift. I think I probably can, but we just wanted, again, I really didn't want to fail a lift this day. Like, the whole goal of this competition was just to have fun. So we weren't pushing for huge numbers. So I opened with 117.5, moved amazingly.
Go! The bar is loading. Nice and easy work there from Leah. Lovely opener. The referee has said 3-1.
I think my next lift must have been 125.
Go on, Aaliyah!
Come on, Aaliyah.
Come on up!
Easy work.
Easy!
A little trouble at the top there, but I do not think it's going to...
And moved amazingly. 130 I am over the moon with, and I have watched that video so many times because it makes me feel strong. That is essentially double body weight, and it moves so well.
This is it, Aaliyah. Empty the tank.
So I was happy at this point, so happy. And that meant that my comp total was 285 kilos, and I had said if we're kind of putting any number in mind, it would just be to get as close to 300 as possible. So 15 kilos off that is not bad at all. I was just really happy. I had the best time, the vibes were on point, and I just loved every second. Callum was so supportive, and I had this huge kind of overwhelming feeling afterwards of not knowing how to express my gratitude. I think I said thank you to him so many times. I sent him a handful of really long messages. I just really knew that I wouldn't have been able to get to that point without him and his support. I feel like I'm gonna cry. I'd had a really difficult couple of weeks personally leading up to comp. My nan unfortunately passed away, and I had her funeral 2 days or 3 days before comp, and found that really, really difficult. And just to go out and have a really fun day with the support of Callum and the rest of DBD. I had Ethan there filming and a handful of friends from work that were there being super supportive, and I was just so grateful for all the people in my life that support me. So yeah, Callum, if you're watching this, again, can never thank you enough for the best competition ever. That one will definitely stay with me for a very long time. And one thing that was really special about this comp, which kind of makes me feel embarrassed, I always feel like a fangirl, but the reason I started powerlifting is I used to follow Cleo and Maisie's joint account, and at some point they kind of separated onto like 2 separate accounts, and at that point Cleo started sharing her own powerlifting, and I was just in awe of what she was doing. I also knew at the time who ended up being my first powerlifting coach, was also watching what he was doing, and like realized that I was quite interested in powerlifting based off of what these guys are doing. And that's what essentially made me reach out to Freddie, my first coach, and start coaching with Freddie. When I realized that I potentially wanted to take powerlifting a little bit more seriously, I had a look at who Cleo's coach was, and that is how I found Callum and DBD. And essentially, Cleo is one of my biggest inspirations in the powerlifting world. And when I found out that she was competing at the DBD Open, I messaged Callum and I was like, I don't know how to stay calm. I like don't want to come across as obsessed or like over the top, but like I'm kind of fangirling. One of my dreams is to see Cleo compete, and being able to compete in the same competition as her is insane. And Ethan actually filmed a video of me once I'd finished all my lifts. I came out and watched everybody else finish their lifts, and it meant I got to see Cleo's final deadlift attempt, which actually got her best female lifter, and Ethan filmed that.
Be patient now, Cleo. We know this comes off the floor. Empty the side. I'm not wrong in saying that.
But meeting Cleo, watching her compete and just absolutely smash the day was another huge highlight for me. And I think that pretty much sums it up. So to finish the day, Joel and Lo, 2 of our friends that were there watching, came back with me and Ethan to the Airbnb, and we ate a hell of a lot of pizza. We were in the Uber back to the Airbnb, and I felt the absolute crash. I'd actually only had 1 Monster, which compared to last comp where I think I had 3, I was really happy with. I only drank that for deadlifts. But I think that also contributed to the crash. So we were in the car home or back to the Airbnb, and I was suddenly like could feel how knackered I was. But we ate pizza, had a great evening, and I couldn't stop talking and watching and sharing comp videos for the next couple of weeks. Now, as I said, this was probably one of the best days of my life, definitely one of the best days of last year. And I had the best time ever. I'm so happy with my lifts and what I achieved. I do want to just like bring a bit of reality in to say, obviously, as I mentioned very briefly, the lead up to comp was not the best time in terms of personal life for me. And now that I've competed twice, I can say this happens every time I compete. But this has obviously only happened the 2 times I've competed. The week or 2 post-comp, I have this horrible, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's like a crash in terms of, I really don't know how to explain it. I basically have 2 weeks where they're like post-comp blues, but I realise how much I put into the entire of comp prep. Probably 3 to 6, probably more like 3 months worth of preparation for that one day. I weighed myself every single day. I tracked every single thing I ate. I tracked my sleep constantly. I always did so many steps. That just comes into work anyway. But I was tracking so many habits and aspects of my life and being so aware of everything I was doing. The intent that I was putting into my sessions was all consuming. That those 3 months leading up to comp take a hell of a lot out of me. That because I'm so invested in that competition, during it, I don't realise it. Afterwards, I guess I would compare it to what I know burnout to be. I just have an absolute crash where I can't even think about tracking anything. Everything, like my whole mood shifts and I feel really, really low. That's happened both times and it doesn't last very long, like a week or 2. And I'm very aware of what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it, which does help. But it is difficult. And that comes with putting so much into competing. So I just thought I would share that as a little bit of a, I had the best day ever. It's not all like that. Anyway, I hope that's a really nice explanation of comp. If you've enjoyed watching this, please give it a like, leave a comment and share if you can.